She's been hailed as the preeminent Bach pianist of our time by the Guardian newspaper. Nothing less than the pianist who will define Bach performance on the piano for years to come by stereophile. Angela Hewitt, Canadian classical pianist, in studio with us now. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me here, Sophie.
Now, Angela is performing this evening in Vancouver. Unfortunately, unless you have a ticket already, you won't be able to see her and listen to her. But we have a treat. You'll be playing for us in just a few minutes' time.
I will be, yes.
Okay, well, before we get to that, let's talk a little bit, and I mentioned Bach because that's really what you're best known for worldwide.
Sure.
You spent 11 years recording all of his keyboard compositions.
Yes, I did. I mean, that was really a culmination of my entire life because I started playing the piano at 3, and I think I first played a piece by Bach at 4. So, but I did record all of his major keyboard works, and in fact, last year I re-recorded the Well-Tempered Clavier, his most important work for keyboard after 10 years. Mm-hmm. And so it was a wonderful voyage, and really has added so much to my life and made me known worldwide for the interpretation of his music.
Well, that's I guess the key word is the interpretation, because to someone like myself who's not an expert, but I know I like Bach,
sure,
but that's as much as I know. So how do you interpret it, and how is it different from someone else playing Bach, from Glenn Gould, for instance?
Well, that's the subject of a 3-hour lecture. But the thing about Bach is that he didn't really write anything in the score, just only the notes, but it would be wrong to only play the notes. So one has to engage in a lot of study, a lot of scholarship to really know how the music was played in its time. And that's why I've done a DVD to help people around the world understand that. But that's also why it turns out very personal. I mean, you wouldn't confound my playing really with that of Glenn Gould, with that of some of the other Bach specialists that are in the world and have been. So, but it's the greatest music ever written, I think, and also some of the most expressive. People often think that Bach should not be expressive, but I disagree. I think it's wonderful, warm music.
In your career, which is started when you were 3, like you said, how has your interpretation changed then? I mean, clearly it would have changed from the time you were 4.
Sure.
But
well, enormously, and I mean, all the experience that I gained through concerts all over the world, listening to other musicians, even something like playing on a different piano, the Fazioli piano, which we have today, that enlarged my imagination for sounds, for everything that was possible at the keyboard. Mm-hmm. And just life itself. Of course, you know.
So how you played it originally, you said you re-recorded one of the pieces recently.
Yes.
How you played it originally, and then...
It wasn't bad originally.
No, but you sort of reinterpreted it.
It is. And again, more color, more drama, more sophistication in the phrasing. I mean, if you listen to it very closely, you hear the differences. And it's, I think, interesting for people, for piano teachers, for amateur musicians to listen to both versions and hear the difference.
You mentioned the Fazioli, and we just got a shot of it as well. That is a very special piano that you had started playing. When did you start playing the Fazioli?
I bought my first one in 1999, and although I first played one in Australia in 1995, it was around the year 2000 that I started performing on them in public. And it comes from Italy, of course. A piano beautifully constructed by engineer Fazioli, made mostly by hand. He makes 110 instruments a day, whereas some other manufacturers will make 110 a year. Whereas,
okay.
Whereas other manufacturers will make 100 a day, so that just shows you the care that goes into these instruments. But they have a wonderful sound, wonderful resonances, wonderful action, very easy to play, but also very challenging because it gives you such scope. It's a very creative piano.
You recently met the Pope, or had an invitation from the Vatican.
That's true.
What was that about?
It was last week. I went to Rome from Canada for 3 days, and it was a meeting for artists of all disciplines, cinema, theater, music, architecture, from all over the world, invited by personally by the Vatican, for an audience with the Pope, and he addressed us and urged us to continue to make beauty part of our lives, and to share that with as many as possible, that artists are really the custodians of beauty in the world, and we need to spread the message.
It's always a challenge, isn't it, especially at this time when there's an economic downturn, to continue to to convince people that art is important.
Of course, but it is. It's what keeps us going. It's food for the soul. And I think he was right to really bring attention to this. And the event was in the marvelous Sistine Chapel. Just magnificent. So it was a very moving occasion.
Well, welcome back home.
Thank you.
You are playing tonight. Sold out concert tonight, which people can't go to unless, of course, they already have tickets. But you will play for us in just a few minutes.
I will.
And what will you be playing?
I'll play the Nocturne in E-flat major by Frédéric Chopin.
All right. Thank you so much for coming in today, Angela.
Thank you, Sophie.
Angela Hewitt, sit tight for 1 sec. And Christy Gordon, our weather maestro. Oh, that was terrible.
No,
I'm sorry. I really didn't work on that for very long at all.
Oh, I could tell, I
Clearly.
could tell. Well, I have